What did you think? Did you think, because you hit that ball, and again, I don't like to be hyperbolic, but with the heat of 1,000 suns.
That was a great statement. When I see Miko hook it high in the air, luckily I got in the path of where Tim flicked it onto. Decided to just welly it as hard as I could.
I don't like to be hyperbolic, but my guest today is a national hero, part footballer, part demigod, ripped from the Marvel comic universe. And I say that after he scored a 98th minute hammer of justice to send us all into raptures and emphatically say goodbye to Goodison at the Derby in the most epic of Everton tenacious styles. It's a joy to welcome the captain, the rock, the destroyer of red dreams. It's Mr. James Tarkowski.
Hello, Raj.
Oh, James, how are we doing? We are the morning after the night before. You made history last night. How many hours sleep do you get after a moment like that?
Yeah, very broken. It took a while to get to sleep, then I woke up a few times in the night, so I've not had much, but it's all worth it after last night.
Do you have football dreams, James? Do you like the stress of dark days, the happiness of great moments? Does it penetrate through to what you do? Did you keep waking up and think, did that happen? Oh my God, that happened.
I mean, I did wake up a few times. The first thing I thought about was the goal as soon as I woke up. So there wasn't much else on my mind last night. Anytime I was awake, yeah, special night it was.
Same for me. And all I did was watch it and smash my glasses. You scored it and I want to talk about it. But last night was more than a football game. It was like the best Irish wake that I've ever been to. Can I honestly ask you, derbies mean everything to fans. They really do. But for players, do they feel different to other games?
They have to, especially here. You can't not go out and play last night in that atmosphere and not realise it feels different to a normal game. The whole occasion from start to finish was just special. And yeah, you can feel it from the off and right to the very end.
You can feel it, because like some players say they learn to just drown out the fan noise, and ultimately once the game kicks off, you're just in it. Last night, I mean, Goodison under the lights is always ecstatic. Could you feel it all the way through? Could you hear? Could you sense?
Yeah, you can. I mean, for sure there's moments when the game is going on where you can sort of drown out that noise a little bit. But definitely when the ball goes out of play or a goal goes in, you can't help but realise how special last night was. And the most special night of football I've played, for sure.
It is. There you go. That's essentially the whole interview over, because it all builds up to this. You have achieved a fair amount. You've seen fire, you've seen rain, but I want to relive some of the moments from last night. Starting in the 11th minute, Jared Branthwaite plays that telepathic pass through to Beto, who peels off his man and finishes quite exquisitely. Beto seems to me to be a symbol of the David Moyes regime. That's a gentleman that has struggled, has been very honest about his struggles. Suddenly, it's like David Moyes has put his arm around him, is playing football to his strengths. He's become an unstoppable goal machine. How have you experienced this rise of Beto?
I mean, I see him work hard every day. He's one of the most hard-working players I've worked with, to be honest. Sticks at it, determined, and just desperate to do well for this football club, really. So I've seen a lot of his hard work go in, and now he's reaping the rewards with the goals he scored. And big goals for us, which we've needed. So we're pleased to have him and pleased to see him do well.
I've got to ask you about that Jared Branthwaite pass, because it was chef's kiss.
It was.
What a player. He does it all. Yeah,
no, very, very good pass. And totally off the cuff. I was stood on the other side of the pitch waiting for him to smash a bag for me and Jake O'Brien to try and stick our heads on it. Before I know it, Beto's in behind and slotting it away. So slightly more cultured than I was expecting. I was expecting a big lump up and just try and cause a bit of carnage.
Beto goes, tell me, he goes, he was giving me the sign. I was like, what's the sign, Beto? He goes, the sign is, Beto!
Yeah, catching of the eyes, we call it, yeah.
Here's the catching of the eyes.
He filled his own players, so I'm sure he was going to fill them.
There is a saying in football, a player can score too early. Mentally, it impacts a team. Liverpool scored almost immediately. Do you believe in that theory? Do you experience that a team can score too early?
We've been pretty good in the most at holding on to leads. And I fully expected last night when we went into the lead to hold on and defend well. It wasn't meant to be with the way the game went. They opened us up ever so slightly in the box and got a header. So not ideal, but all part of the story of last night.
Yeah, and in that story, I'm going to edit out the 2 goals that Liverpool then scored. But there was a moment in the game, that last kind of 15 minutes, listening to the Liverpool fans talking about winning the league at Goodison Park, which was really the only sound for a good long spell. Again, as players on the field, Can you hear it? What does that feel like?
No, not really. Like sort of rejigging my memory now, I can't think of them making any noise really. It was more being focused within the match. I thought that late on in the game they were trying to waste a lot of time, so I was more trying to remind the referee, which to be fair I think is the best referee in the country. He was on it straight away with their time wasting tactics, which most teams do. We do ourselves, other teams do it. It's all part of the game, but the referee was onto it, and that's why the extra minutes were on the clock near the end, which paid us back.
I want to talk about your goal, but earlier, I think around the 71st minute, you had a chance in the box. You later said you panicked and ditched it to Decorio, who hit it over the bar. Can you describe what went through your mind in that moment, that sense of panic?
Yeah, I say panic. It was more of an unusual position to get put in. And where my first touch went, it wasn't either right on my right foot or my left foot. It was sort of sitting right in between where I would have liked to have been. So rather than try and either like rework the ball or rework my feet, I was looking for a pass. And to be fair, Dukes was in a decent position and just didn't get a good enough strike on target. But then it sort of played in my mind a little bit that I probably should have struck it myself. So when I got the opportunity again, it was like, well, let's make sure I get good contact on this one.
As you run off, that is what you feel. I always watch you when you head over from a corner, you shake your head, you're smiling, you run back. Is that what that in that moment?
Yeah,
it was? I should have taken it. I should have taken it.
Usually when you see me smiling at myself, it's probably because I'm annoyed, really. That's sort of my reaction. It was a little bit, and Jordan reminded when I got back into my own half that I should have shot myself. So yeah, it probably worked in my favour really, because as I say, when I ended up in the box later on in the game, that was in my mind to make sure that I actually struck the ball.
So let's talk about that, because I love Everton Football Club because they embody tenacity, which is the most important human emotion. And the minutes are ticking away. Your energy levels, you've been chasing all night, mentally, physically. Can you describe that fatigue that you're feeling? Do you feel it at the end of the game? It was adrenaline kicking and you just got that extra charge?
Yeah, I mean, you're so used to it. I've played so many games now, I'm used to my body's feeling that way. So I'm just in the moment looking for opportunities to try and either stop an attack from them or create an attack for ourselves. And as I seen the ball go wide to Youngie, in my head I was just thinking, why not just go and get in the box now? There can only be a minute left, why not just go and risk it? And that's why I ended up drifting up forward.
And that ball drifts in, you're pushing up, Miko, ball in, Irabunam gets his head to it, you steal in. What did you see? What did you think? Did you think, because you hit that ball, and again, I don't like to be hyperbolic, but with the heat of 1,000 suns.
That was a great statement. When I see Miko hook it high in the air, knowing as a defender that once it bounced, it's going to be a nightmare to put the ball anywhere. If I was defending that ball, it's like, what do I do with this now?
Defender brain kicks in.
Well, I was thinking, you can't really head that anywhere, because ideally you want to try and volley that away to get any power on it, but the ball bounced and everyone was sort of clumped together, so no one was going to be able to volley it. So I knew that wherever the header was going to go, it was never really going to leave the box. So then I made sure I got in and around the ball. Luckily, I got in the path of where Tim flicked it onto. And as I said earlier, because I had a bit of a nosebleed early on in the game and passed it, I decided to just welly it as hard as I could.
Kids watching at home, that's the technique, welly it.
There's slightly more technical terms than that, but I think really, for me, it was about just getting a good contact and hitting the target, and that's what happened.
It was the tongue out, like watching a young Michael Jordan.
I've had that all my life. I've had pictures sent to me all through my life. I've got pictures of when I was 8, 9, 10 years old with my tongue hanging out my face all the time, and I still do it now.
Oh, there's a tweet out there of you hitting that ball. Someone's written, hang it in the Louvre.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've been sent that a few times already as well. Hang it in the Louvre.
Do you train on your finishing? In practice, how much do you train on your finishing, Tark?
Funnily enough, I was sat with Jack Harrison before the game yesterday after pre-match, and we were just talking, having a general chit-chat, and I was actually saying that I never really do finishing. Any kind of drill at all. If we do it as a team, we'll do crossing and finishing, and I'll take part in that. But if there's any like extras at the end, I never take part. I'll do my own little bits, which are I feel are more important for me, like my footwork or my heading or my passing. So I never do finishing drills at all, really, apart from when we do the odd crossing and finishing drill.
But when you hit that, it's like a cliche. I knew it was in as soon as I'd hit it. Did you know it was in as soon as you hit it?
I was hoping it was going in. I mean, I was 8 yards out on the angle a little bit. I went to the shortest part of the goal rather than going across it, so it would have took an outstanding save to save it. So no, I didn't know it was going in, but I was hopeful it was going in.
Do you know what the XG was on that shot?
No clue.
Do you care about XG? Do you believe in XG? It was 0.05.
Was it that low? I'll ever go then. maybe because it was me taking it. If it was someone else, maybe it was a bit higher.
That's 1.0. And no, it's the pressure. It was the angle, 98th minute in that moment. I mean, I don't know what that tells you about XG.
Yeah, maybe it's not as accurate as we all think it is.
We've got to talk about the celebration. Your hands to your ears. You later said on British TV that you don't know why you did that, that perhaps it was because you got big ears.
Yeah, I don't really know why I did it. I think in that moment you sort of just lose a bit of control. I set off sprinting one way, changed direction to the other way, cut my ears, knee slide into a couple of ball boys.
Are you thinking, or is it just the chaos embracing
Yeah,
it?
no, not really. Honestly, just chaos. Yeah, I didn't know where to go, what to do. So yeah, no idea.
Peter Drury on commentary had a beautiful line. I don't know how he comes out with these human truths. He said, Gladys Street as a moment for history, for eternity, forever, which I actually want to have on my gravestone. But the fact that you scored in that moment, in the last ever derby at Goodison Park, in front of the Gladys Street, I don't know if there's a question there. I'm just reliving it again in my mind, but did it make it feel extra special for you?
Yeah, right now it's so hard to take in. I've watched it so many times already. Yeah, I've had
You watch
so
it on
many
you sit there when you're having your breakfast, like
From the hours of about 12 till 2, 3 last night, I probably watched it maybe 200-300 times.
I bet. That's half as many times as I did.
Yeah, and I think right now it's hard to really comprehend like what an occasion it was. Obviously, it does, as I say, it feels special, but I think only in years and down the line, and maybe when we've moved on from the stadium, I'll really realise how special it really is.
The VAR call, it seems to last forever for me. Did it feel like that for you?
Yeah, a little bit, but luckily because the celebration lasted so long in the corner with all the chaos with the fans and stewards all over there, it sort of made that probably the first couple of minutes go quite quick. It was only when I got back to the halfway line and then obviously it took a bit more time to go through that I was...
Do you know how long it was?
No, I'd guess 4 minutes.
2 minutes, 46 seconds. It felt like about 132 years, to be candid. I was watching, I was like, we can't have nice things. They don't give us nice things, only darkness.
Yeah.
What do you experience in that moment? You've just done something historic. It could just be reduced to dust and forgotten. Like, you're living that.
Yeah, I mean, I just stood on the halfway line. I was contemplating whether to go and celebrate again if it counted or just to enjoy the moment. I was sort of expecting it to be very typical and just sort of expect it to be chalked off for one reason or another.
You did?
I was expecting him to find the reason, whether it was offside, foul, handball, because I seen the ball get kicked at Miko at one point. I didn't know if it maybe like hit like Park's arm.
You didn't know if we'd send up with a points deduction.
yeah, nearly, yeah. So yeah, I was just expecting it to be chalked off, but thankfully not.
I love the way you approach life. Just be negative and then only good things can happen. But we are here the morning after. Has it had time to sink in that you, James Tarkowski, have scored one of the great Goodison Derby goals, one of the great Derby goals? When I think of great Derby goals, Andy King, Graham Sharp, Duncan Ferguson, your name as a defender is now in that. Jags.
Yeah,
style.
well, for me, the Jags one is probably the most iconic one, just because it was my sort of era of playing football. And before I was an Everton player, I've always remembered that goal. So for me, that's something that it's always stuck in my mind. So yeah, hopefully it sticks in plenty of people's minds for years to come.
The game ended with a bit of push and shove. Decore doing the business, Pete Decore. I was watching it, I was like, thank God Tark didn't do a seagull celebration or World War III might have broken out.
Yeah, I'm usually in the mix of that chaos, but because I scored, I wanted to enjoy the moment. So I quickly tried to drag Dukes away, but not quick enough, and then went and enjoyed the moment.
Can we talk quickly about David Moyes? He's only been with us for 5 league games, 10 points in that time. Can you put into words from the inside, how has his return changed the energy, really the entire direction of the season?
Yeah, for sure. The points always build confidence in a team, especially when we've won so many games close together and obviously got the draw last night. It's been subtle changes, nothing drastic. He saw the good work which we'd done already before that, but spotted areas where we needed to work, and we're still improving, still getting better.
What if you were to describe the areas?
We need to score more goals. We've defended well for the last few seasons, just not scored enough goals. Last night we get a couple, but in the previous games we've started to score more goals and getting our better players into positions to cause points to the other team.
So how much is it mental and how much is it? I mean, he is playing ball to feet in attack far more. But how would you
Yeah.
describe the balance between the two?
Yeah, as I say, it's not been drastic. It has been maybe trying to bring a team on onto us a bit more. And it's very dependent on who we're going to play against. Some teams have come really high and pressed us really high. Some teams have sat off us a little bit. So it's finding that balance of when we put the ball at risk, when we don't, when we keep the ball. And probably just having a bit more control of the ball ourselves when it's required. And it's worked in the games we've played so far.
I also want to shout out the selection of that 23-year-old slab of granite from Cork, Jake O'Brien. I mean, he could barely make the field until David Moyes arrived. And you and Brantwaite and Jake, honestly, the three of you are like the Bash brothers. Can you talk about how you've understood his belated rise at Everton?
Yeah, it does take time. It's not always easy to come to a new club, and if you don't get into the team initially, to then come in the way he has done and play the way he has. He's still fairly young, he's still learning, but as you see, he's a physical monster. Very good technically on the ball. He's playing it right back at the minute, but dealing with the ball really well. Defending well 1v1. He's come up against some of the best wingers in the most informed wingers in the league so far, but dealt with all of them. So yeah, I've been really, really impressed. And I say it takes time. I experienced it myself when I broke into the Premier League, and it's took him a bit of time, but now we've shown what he's all about.
I like to think of him as like son of Tark. How good can he be?
Yeah, no, I say he's still learning, but he's got everything he needs. The same way that when Jared broke through and showed all his qualities and how special a player is, Jake's got all them physical attributes that you first of all need to play in this league. But he's also got the technical side, and he's also shown a bit of versatility playing it right back in the team and coming up against some excellent wingers and defending really well 1v1.
You scored the last ever goal in a Merseyside Derby at Goodison Park. That moment, honestly, will be like the moon landing for Everton fans. It will be a piece of club iconography that will live on for a generation. Everyone who was there last night will remember and will talk about that goal, that moment, that feeling. Do you realise that it isn't the buzz of a last-minute goal that will wear off, but like that will be remembered around your name at Everton forever?
Yeah, maybe I've got the last-minute buzz still at the minute, and as time goes on, that'll wear off a little bit. But the moment, the occasion will be something that lives on.
I mean, it's an amazing time at Everton. We're about to move into a new stadium, changing everything about this club. You have lived fire and rain. You've lived some dark times, some challenges. We survived the points deductions. The club have suffered. The fans have suffered so bloody much. Looking at the club and its future, what do you see? What can Everton be?
I think it needs to be where it was maybe 15, 20 years ago, when the manager was first here, where everyone looked at Everton as a team that was trying to push them boundaries and break that sort of top 4, top 6. And that's where the club deserves to be, with the fan base we've got, the support we've got, the history of this football club. So now it's time to sort of bring those days back, and it's not going to be something that happens instantaneously, but through time and work and the togetherness, we'll get there.
At the new stadium, I'm hoping the club do the right thing and build a statue of you, cup in your ears, charging away to the Gladys Street. You don't need to tell me whether you think it's a good idea or not, but what should it look like and how big should it be?
In my opinion, enormous. In others' opinion, maybe just very small in the corner somewhere.
At the back of the parking lot.
Yeah, in the water maybe.
Oh, God bless, Tark. Thank you, mate. To you, to your team, to the future.
Thanks very much.
Courage.
Appreciate it.